Welcome to a realm where personal growth meets expansive spirituality and where we're not just scratching the surface. We're diving deep, widening our perspectives, and having a darn good time doing it. This is the Enliven Podcast, and I am your host, Jen Hamilton. You'll enjoy an infusion of motivation, empowerment, and inspiration that will resonate in every aspect of your life. Expect captivating stories, heartfelt musings, and my own personal experiences. But that's not all. I'm bringing awe-inspiring individuals to the table, so get ready to meet some remarkable souls whose wisdom and stories will leave you spellbound. No topic is off limits here. Brace yourself for raw authenticity, unfiltered vulnerability, and yes, the occasional splash of explicit language. We're delving into the realms of the esoteric, mystical, and the woo-woo, unafraid to explore the extraordinary. So if you are ready to venture beyond the surface, to explore the depths of your soul, and to awaken the magic of life, if your heart says yes, then hit that play button and let the Enliven Podcast guide you on this remarkable expedition. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Enliven Podcast. I am your host, Jen, and my very special guest today is Sarah Bowser. Sarah is that weird, nerdy mum, the one who always struggled with belonging, finding her place in the world. After struggling with anxiety, an autoimmune diagnosis, and suicide ideation, she found her way back to solid ground, putting together her own system for finding her true self, cultivating self-love, and creating her own belonging. She's now an unconventional self-esteem coach and published author who helps quirky, distracted mums regain confidence in who they truly are without any fear of being shamed or left out. Sarah specializes in guiding mums with organizing their mind and life, experimenting with new and different ideas, philosophies, and hobbies, and finding core values. She's committed to helping other mums become confident in who they truly are and courageous enough to create their own belonging. Sarah is such a beautiful soul. It was such an honor to have her on the Enliven Podcast. I know you're going to love our conversation. So without further ado, let's dive in. Hello, Sarah, and welcome to the Enliven Podcast. It's so great to have you here today.
It's so great to be here. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. I'm so excited because we're going to dive into some really awesome topics today.
Yes.
And you're a unconventional self-esteem coach and author.
Yes.
Tell us, Sarah, what is all of this magic that you bring to the world?
So I like to think of myself as unconventional because I've always kind of been kind of outside of what people think of as normal. So I've spent the majority of my years kind of looking in from the outside of things, kind of trying to figure out where it is that I belong, what it is that I'm meant to do. And I've struggled a lot to try to figure out who I am without putting like the sheen of lamination over everything to like present this perfect, pristine image to the world. So I've, over the last couple of years, I've really kind of embraced like, okay, I'm just going to tear the laminate off. I'm going to just be my rough and ready self. And if I stumble or look weird and crazy doing things, then oh well, that's just how it is. But I'm ready to just kind of show up in the world as myself without laminating everything and just be me. So that's kind of why I think of myself as unconventional, because I'm not morphing to fit every like societal expectation. And that's what I hope to help others do as well, is to be able to embrace their rough edges and embrace who they truly are, the person that they've buried for years and years and years, and just to become confident and comfortable in that.
I love that. I love it. I call it audaciously authentic. Like
Yes.
it's showing up completely as yourself. Like I love the term laminating that you said. So, really just removing that laminate that we put on top of ourselves. And, some people refer to that as wearing a mask. Some people, they refer to it as anything you want to. But it's really knowing that we are safe to do that.
Yes,
We are safe to take the mask off. We're safe to just be our authentic selves. What are some of
absolutely.
the things that you found, Sarah, in your journey that through taking off the mask, taking off the laminate, becoming, radically honest within who you are? Tell us how your life has shifted because of that.
I've found that I've always been a very big people pleaser. I've always been very much into doing what's expected of me, not questioning things, not asking questions, not um, rocking the boat, so to speak. And it's allowed me to ask questions, to look at things from a different perspective of, is this serving me? Is this serving my family? Is it serving the future that I want for myself? And it's allowed me to kind of make changes that I never really thought I would be able to make. I went, I guess a good example recently is I went into a career that right out of college where my professor said I would be good at it and recommended me to it. And I spent 11 years in that career, in that space, and was allowing myself to be directed and be told what needed to happen, and basically not to be treated like an adult, to a great extent. And I was so concerned of being the perfect worker, being the perfect employee, that I just muted and dampened myself so much in order to fit into that role. And this year specifically, like, I really, as I was really diving into my coaching, um, my coaching work and all of this, I realized that that role wasn't serving me anymore. So I took the leap and left a really cushy government position with a pension and with all of this stuff to go out into private work where I lost that pension. I don't have that same security that I had. I'm basically starting from scratch. Um, in my accounting career, but I feel like an adult. I feel like I can be me. I went into that whole process where when I interviewed for my original position right out of college, I was this meek, meager, like little like mouse just wanting to like please everybody and just hide in my shell and not move or scare anyone, scare myself. And I went into this interview process kind of being like, oh no, I'm going to talk about how much I am obsessed with Lord of the Rings and how much I nerd out about things. And I'm going to talk about the stuff that I like outside of work. I'm going to talk about myself as a full human. And if they don't like that, then obviously they're not going to hire me. And obviously it wouldn't be a great fit. Turns out the one person I interviewed with was also a huge Lord of the Rings fan. And it worked out really well. And I'm working at a firm where you're supported and your uniqueness is celebrated and you're treated like an adult. And if I hadn't gone through that journey of figuring out, oh, I can be unapologetically me, I would still be stuck in a path where my mental health was continually going down the drain, and I would have lost out on so many amazing opportunities as a result. So it's exciting to
Mhm.
see what opens up for you in your future when you get that confidence in yourself and being who you really are. So that's been huge.
Wow, what an incredible journey that you've been on with that. I'm really curious, like, what are some of the things that you found were almost blocking you from being your full, authentic, weird, quirky self? Like, what are some of the blocks or the walls that were up, perhaps, that you had to then tear down?
Yeah, a lot of it had to do with my own perceptions of what other people expected of me. I felt as though it was my job and my duty to do everything that I could to make everybody else comfortable, regardless of what it meant for me. Um, I've always been, I was that pleasure to have in class during grade school, high school, college, where I never spoke out, I never spoke up. I was always sitting quietly either in the front or the back of the class, doing my work, not questioning anything. And then at home, I was always striving to be the perfect kid, to be a good listener, to not question authority, and that kind of just kept on carrying on throughout my career, throughout my young adult life, and all of that. And it led me to really realize that putting everybody else's needs before my own was not only detrimental to my own mental health, but wasn't necessarily what needed to happen, because again, this was all my perception of what I needed to do. And there was no one telling me that you have to do this, you have to do that, that you can't do this for yourself, you can't do that for whatever. It was all that I was perceiving that my own self-worth was tied up in the ability to do all of these things for everybody else, no matter what that meant for me or for them. And working through that block has taken a good 30 some years to get through, but it's been kind of life-changing since, and it's still a work in progress. It's still something that I'm working through to figure out, like, okay, no, stop, let's take a step back. You don't have to do this right now because it's not an expectation. You're putting this on yourself. And I found that it's a way that was always a way of me to hide from from the world, because of a fear of rejection, because of a fear of not being accepted for who I truly am. So it was my perception of what was expected of me, but also just this conglomeration of fear and self-sabotage and not wanting to be seen, that kind of kept me stuck in that for way longer than I would have liked.
Yeah. We spoke a little bit about your journey and how it all sort of came about. Was there a particular moment that was like the catalyst where you're like, I'm so sick of my own shit and I can't imagine going on in my life anymore like this? Was there like a moment for you, or was that like a slow burn?
It started as a slow burn, and then went, like, it kind of came to a head back, actually, like, just before the pandemic, not too long before the pandemic hit. And a lot of times recently, you hear a lot of stories of how the pandemic is what kind of um, was the catalyst for a lot of people, like, seeing life differently. For me, it kind of came before that, because I had just had my daughter. So she's wonderful. She's 5 now, and just this little spunky little hunk that I love to pieces. And she's always been like that. But when giving birth to her and the postpartum period after that led to a lot of mental health issues as well as physical health issues. My pregnancy kind of kicked into gear autoimmune disease for myself, and so that led to a lot of uncertainty and fear, and was leaving me in between my mental health struggles and my physical health struggles. I was feeling like I couldn't be the best mom that I could be, that I couldn't be the best wife that I could be, that I couldn't be of use to them or to anybody. And it kind of came to a head that that summer. My daughter was probably just turned 1, and I finally, this was months after, like, my mental health had been tanking for a very, very long while at this point. And I finally admitted to my husband about having suicidal thoughts and thinking that they would be better off without me, that I'm just holding them back, and all of this sort of thing. And that was kind of like his reaction to that, and the subsequent kind of like almost like snap of the lights turning on once I admitted it out loud to him, was kind of like that, like, gut check of like, oh, wait, no, I need to turn this around, because I want to see who this little ball of energy is going to turn into as she grows, and how I can help her be her weird self and her nerdy self, and not fall into the same ill patterns and just not hide in the same caves that I hid in growing up. So that was kind of like the big kind of like smack in the face that kind of swished me around onto this path. And it was definitely worth
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, I had a very sort of similar experience. And I think it's that transition when you go from maiden to motherhood.
Mm-hmm.
You go through a maturing process. Your archetype as a woman completely shifts,
Yep.
and there's so much room for everything to break apart in order to, the breakdown to have the breakthrough.
Yep.
And what I've seen in my own life, what I have seen, within my community, what I've even spoken to a lot of people about on this podcast is just around the lack of support for mothers going through this transition.
Yeah.
It becomes all about the baby when we have the baby.
Mm-hmm.
How's the baby? Is the baby sleeping? Is the baby eating? What about mum? Is mum
Yeah.
eating? Is mum sleeping? Is mum feeling nurtured? And I feel like, especially in the Western society, we have, this stigma around, we have to get back to work, or we have to look like we've got it all together, or we have to look like the Instagram mum that has all of the things and all of the
Yeah.
help. And, and it's so hard. And I truly believe, like, as we are, when we are blessed to be mothers, and like I said, like, we go from that, that maiden archetype to the mother, and we go through this massive shift. It's an initiation. It's a rite of passage as a woman, but it's an initiation into being a whole new version of ourselves. And I mean, if you think about, a seed that gets planted, like how much energy it takes for that seed to then grow and shoot up out through the soil and then start
Mm-hmm.
to grow and bloom. I feel like that transition for us as mothers is very similar to that. However, we're also trying to, raise a child, bring this baby up, keep it alive, keep
Yeah.
ourselves going, keep our households going. We've still got to, stay on top of finances and stay on top of the house and all of the moving parts that come with just life. It's no wonder that so many mothers just feel completely broken down. I don't know about you, Sarah, but I didn't have a lot of support from other women going through my motherhood journey. Like, I had my mum around and she was amazing. My sister was around. She lived a fair distance away, so I didn't see her a lot. And like everyone, when the baby's little, everyone wants to drop in and see the baby, and it's all well and good, but there was never that nurturing support that we so deeply desire, and that we once had in communities as well. If you
Mm-hmm.
look at, back in the day when, women would rally together, and it takes a village to raise a child, and the whole
Yes.
village would get involved. And now it's like, oh, off you go, you'll figure it out. So yeah, I really understand where you're coming from there.
Yeah. And like I was lucky enough where like in the US we don't have maternity leave. We have, oh, you want time off? You can just go and hope that you have enough money to make it by. And I was lucky enough where I had time to take off and not have to worry about going straight back to work. And with my daughter, I was lucky enough where it just happened to be the summertime and my parents were off of school because my parents are teachers. So I had my mom's help for that entire summer. But once that 2 months was up and she went back, she also lives quite a distance away from where I am, and FaceTime is great. Having video chat is great, but it's not the same as having that physical help there. And there's such an onus on us to be able to figure it out. Like, we're moms now. We have to
Yeah.
like just figure it out. Like, yes, there's the saying that it takes a village and all of this stuff, but there's still this expectation that, well, you're a mom now. You wanted this. You don't complain that it's hard.
Yes.
Like, it's, you
Yeah.
wanted this, so you should be able to figure it out. You should be able to figure out being a mom, taking care of the household, going back to work so that you can have an income to support the child that you brought into this world. And then there's, it's you say that you're struggling or that you need help, and it's just brought to you like, well, you wanted this, why did you have a kid if you can't handle it? And it's like, okay, but it can be the most amazing journey, but also be hard at the same time. And you should be able to go on that journey and not get looked down on for needing help, for needing physical help with things around the house, with the baby, with yourself, but also mental help with whether it be therapy or meditation or whatever, like whatever it is that you need for the support. It shouldn't be frowned upon or looked at with disdain to be able to get what you need in that situation.
When I had my son, I did think so. I've got my eldest daughter and I've got a younger son. And when I had my eldest daughter, I tried to do everything by the book. So,
Mm-hmm.
Using a pram that had like the bassinet so she could lay flat. I wasn't going to put her in like a cramped capsule, and all the things, all the right things. And I'm putting
Right.
that in inverted commas there. And then I really struggled by the time she was 6 months and I was able to express milk and give her a bottle. Because I had exclusively breastfed her, she wouldn't take to a bottle. We tried so many bottles, it wasn't funny. And she was so attached to me. And then we worked through that eventually. Took a little while. But then when my son came along, I made a point to give him express milk in a bottle quite early on. And I would go out and I would go to the shops and I would go and have a massage, or I'd go for a walk around on my
Mm-hmm.
own. And sure, the mum guilt sits in there, absolutely. But I came back refreshed. I came back feeling
Yes.
good. I came back like I had that time away so I could just feel like myself, because like I said, like motherhood and this, this initiation into this new version of ourselves, it
Mm-hmm.
changes us completely and we lose sight of ourselves. Our bodies aren't the same. Our boobs aren't the same. Our vaginas aren't the same.
Yeah.
Our personality shifts. We're completely deprived of sleep.
Yep.
We're hungry, we're tired, we're cranky, we just want to hug. So of course we've lost ourselves in that process.
Yeah.
And of course, we're screaming out for help, and of course we wanted this too. But I totally hear you where like I was told as well, you made your bed, you sleep in it,
Mm-hmm.
or you wanted this, figure it out. Or my mom, I know that she'll be listening to this, so thanks, mom. But her classic one was, well, I had 3 kids, you've got 2, so you've got it easier.
Yeah.
And to me, I'm like, come on, it's not a competition. I'm literally
No.
struggling here, and you're comparing our journeys, because you sound better. Sorry, mom. But that's how it was. It was like, I actually just want some empathy. In fact, damn it, give me some
Yeah.
sympathy as well. Because
Yes.
I'm really over here struggling. I was talking to some friends about this the other day. I went and saw a psychologist after I had my first, because I was not in a good space as well. I had postnatal depression and anxiety. And I went to a psychologist and I was basically saying, look, I am in a position where I want to drop this baby off at a church and keep going and drive my car off a bridge. And she's like, oh, it sounds like the baby blues. It'll
Oh, I
pass.
hate that term
I'm
so
like, are
much.
you listening to the words that are coming out of my mouth?
Right?
I just wanted
Yeah.
help and I couldn't even get help from a fucking psychologist.
It's insane. It was a similar situation for me with my autoimmune diagnosis. Like, so I got diagnosed with Hashimoto's, and I'm telling the doctors, like, I am struggling mentally and physically because my body is not operating the way that it's supposed to while I'm trying to take care of a little child and maintain work and a house and a relationship and all of these things, and I need help. And they were basically, well, just like, oh, well, there's nothing that we can do. We're not going to do anything. Oh, by the way, if you want to have another kid down the road, it's most likely going to end in a miscarriage, but we're still not going to do anything. Like, why are you concerned? It's basically just hypothyroidism. You really have nothing to worry about. And I'm just like, okay, great. How about I call you and leave you messages in tears until you help me? And that's what it took for
Yeah.
them to take me seriously. And for them, like, it took me calling in tears, saying that I'm struggling, that I need help, and eventually admitting to my primary that I was having suicidal thoughts after having admitted it to my husband, when she was like, all right, I guess we can do something, but you should also probably see a therapist. I'm like, well, no shit, but let's take care of the physical stuff as well as the mental stuff, because they both work together.
Right?
They're not separate systems. I am not
Yep.
a
Yep. And this
cloud
is the
of
thing. Like,
mental stuff over here and a physical body over here. I'm one.
exactly. And why should it take the fact that we have to have suicidal thoughts, or we're just so done with the shit that we just want to check
Yes.
out? Why do we have to get to rock bottom to be screaming out for help,
It
for
shouldn't be
them to
that
be like,
way.
oh, okay, I'll listen to you now.
Yeah, it's insane, and it's devastating, because you think of how many women are going through this, how many people are going through this silently without the support, because they just they either don't have that support system around them, they don't have their parents anymore, they don't have friends or family close by who are going through this, and they don't have the confidence or the courage or the strength, whether it's mental or physical strength, to just be able to stand up for themselves and fight back, because we need to be able to keep pushing. And when you're living in this people pleasing, like, I have to make everything great for everybody else kind of world, it's hard to push back, because you're like, oh, I don't want to offend the doctor, I don't want them to not help me at all, so it's better if I just don't speak up at all. But then it's like, but then you're not getting better, and you're not making improvements, and you continue to go downhill while everybody else is just kind of like, well, what's wrong with her? Why can't she get her shit together?
This is where it circles back to being radically honest
Hmm.
about what it is that you need, what it is that you desire, and being that true authentic self. Because when you
Yes.
come from a place where you are so confident to speak your truth and ask for what you want, that's
Hmm.
when you're going to be heard. And
Yep.
this only landed for me, this only started landing for me probably about 5 years ago. So, like, I didn't have that level of confidence, and I couldn't speak the way that I speak or hold myself the way I do now 6 years ago. It started, when I started studying hypnotherapy, psychotherapy,
Hmm.
NLP, and, did a lot of work on myself, and it's been a continual journey. That's when, the audacious authenticity started dropping in. Like, for me,
Yeah.
I went on a retreat in Bali. It was a self-love retreat, and I learned how to just be my own best friend. I used to think that was the most wankiest thing in the world. And then once I started understanding it, I'm like, oh, I get it now. And it was a real journey to unpack all of the belief systems that I had that had kept me playing small, had kept me self-abandoning, had kept me in a state of powerlessness, had kept me in a sense of low worthiness. It
Hmm.
wasn't until I started unpacking all of that that I went, oh, hang on a second. I am actually in charge here. And then building the relationship that I have with myself, like the relationship that I have now, like the version of me from 5 years ago is so fucking proud. She'd be like, yes, you did it. Well done.
Yes.
And from now, it's like I ask for what I want. I speak my truth. I mean, it
Hmm.
aligns with the work that I do. It aligns with, being a speaker, but also the experience that I get to have in life by speaking my truth. It is so wildly freeing and
Yes,
liberating to
it
be your
is.
fullest expression of self. And obviously, this. I mean, like, you are, the weird, quirky mom, and you love that title, weird, nerdy mom, sorry.
No,
And
it's
you own that part of you.
yeah.
And I love that, because when we start to just honor and respect and love ourselves so deeply, we accept all parts of ourselves. And when
Yes,
we accept all parts of ourselves, we actually don't give a fuck what anyone else thinks, because
exactly.
we are so connected to ourselves, so deeply in love with our own lives. But it's a fucking journey to get there, right?
It is hard. It is not easy. It took a lot for me to be like, okay, I am not afraid to just listen to the music that I want to listen to watch the TV shows or read the books, or I'm not afraid to go on weird, nerdy rants anymore in front of my friends or family. I'm like, all right, you said something that interests me. But I also know a lot about this that is probably way too much for me to just start spewing, but I'm just going to start talking and like talking about all these random facts and stuff about this topic. And I'm not like before I never would have participated in the conversations. I would have stayed small and not let it be known that, oh, I'm interested in this, or oh, hey, I know something about this, or I I have a clear position or knowledge about this topic that I'm going to share with the world. And now it's like, no, you know what? I'm going to share it. I'm not going to stay hidden because it's who I am, and someone in the world may have the same weird, nerdy interests and beliefs as I do. So if I share them, then maybe I will find that tribe or that person that I'm meant to get along with and have a friendship with, or whatever the case may be. It's, you don't know until you just embrace who you are. And it's a process, and it's not easy. There's still times where I'm like, why the fuck did I just say that out loud? And but then it's like, oh no, you know what, I'm able to tell, like, okay, I'm having this nerdy rant and I'm watching the face of the person across from me glaze over. They're not, maybe they're most probably not someone that I need to expend my energy and my time with, trying to force like a relationship or a friendship that's not going to serve either of us. But on the other hand, I go on this crazy nerdy rant about Lord of the Rings, and the person is just as enthralled and interested in what I have to say and contributes to my rant and is like, oh, did you think of this? And it's like, oh, no, I didn't. And then it's like, okay, you're the person that I will put my time and energy into cultivating a friendship and a relationship with, because it's like, okay, yeah, I can get in, I can figure this out. Like, that's what makes it so worth showing up as yourself, because you're able to get clear on, okay, the people who I'm meant to be in community with and belonging and relationships with, once you start showing up as yourself, they start coming out of the woodwork, and you start to figure out exactly what it is, the vibes, the soul, the everything that you need to nourish yourself and to nourish others. That all just starts to come together, and it's the most amazing feeling.
It really is, isn't it? And they say, like, your vibe attracts your tribe. And it's so true,
Yes.
because we're all energetic beings. We're all vibrational. And so
Mm-hmm.
when we're speaking, speech is literally just vibration. Who we are in this world is all just a vibration, and like
Yeah.
attracts like. And so when we start, when we're lying to ourselves, when we're abandoning ourselves, when we're being inauthentic, we then find ourselves sitting in a group going, I am so uncomfortable here. I wish I could speak my truth, but I don't feel
Yeah.
comfortable too.
Yeah.
And that's when I found, when I was hanging around people where we were just out of alignment with what we were into, or what, we were talking about, and it's okay to have, differences of opinions, but when you're just
Absolutely.
constantly out of rapport with someone or a group of people, and you're sitting there going, this doesn't feel nourishing anymore. For
Yeah.
me, that's an invitation to check in with myself.
Yep.
It's like, hang on, who am I being in this? Why, how have I attracted this into my life? Am I actually adding value to their lives? Because I mean, I truly believe being in rapport with someone is an energetic exchange. It's you add value to each other's lives, and that's how you create a friendship or be in relation with someone.
Yes.
And when you're in a group of people or one-on-one, and it just doesn't click, it's like, okay, who's not speaking their truth here? It's one
Mm-hmm.
of us. Like, something's going on here. And then you'll
Yeah.
notice, when you do the work and you start speaking your truth, you're just being your authentic self. You're speaking about what's real for you. And like you said, when someone vibes with you, you're like, oh my God, my people. Like it
Yes.
feels nourishing. It feels good. And then you want more of that. And
Hmm.
that's how we create authentic connections in these beautiful relationships with
Yes.
others, because we're on an equal exchange of the same frequency.
Yeah, absolutely. And the way that you were when you were talking about n- being in a group of people and just feeling that something's not quite right, like that it you find that so often. And I went through that right like in the middle of the pandemic, where this group that I had been like hanging out with and trying to have this authentic relationship and friendship with, it was like trying to fit a square peg in a round hole, because I was trying to fit in with this group, and like things would seem great, we would be getting along wonderfully, like things would click and vibe every so often, but just as quickly as it felt like, oh, things are starting to click and vibe, at the same time it would be like that time would end and it'd be like, oh, something is definitely not right here. And it would lead to a lot of feelings of loneliness and rejection. Like, I'm in this group of people and I feel alone. Like, these are supposed to be my friends. This is supposed to be the group that I'm like close with and tight knit with. And it just was this feeling of, no, this is not right. They like it felt like I was being rejected, and it felt lonely and sad. And as I got further and further away from that situation after the friendships dissolved and we all kind of went our separate ways for several different reasons, as I was going through this whole journey of figuring out and embracing who I truly was, I realized that I wasn't being rejected per se. It's that our values weren't aligning. I
Mm.
was morphing myself to try to fit in, because I was perceiving that I wasn't what they were looking for in a friend, in a confidant, and anything like that. And I was trying to change who I was so that I would be accepted. And it's like, no, they're not rejecting me. My personality, who I am deep down, was saying, no, your values aren't in alignment with theirs. Your personality
Mm.
doesn't jive with theirs. Not saying that they're bad people or they're like anything like that, but it's just not the right space for you. And once I kind of figured that out, it was like, okay, let's do that gut check and be like, okay, what are my values? How am I expressing them, and how am I living them and living in alignment with them, so that my true self really feels comfortable and confident and showing up. So it was
Mm. Mm. I love the term rejection is redirection, because we have, like,
yes.
innately, we have our core fears, powerlessness, abandonment, and worthlessness, and rejection comes under abandonment.
Hmm.
And we're taught essentially, or we're validated for feeling as though being alone is wrong,
Yeah.
or being on our own is not safe. And ultimately, like, we're here to survive this human experience. That's what we're here for. Yes, we're here, having a soulful experience as well as a human. But, on this 3D level, we're just here to survive, and all of our choices are made based on survival. And so if we've been coded to believe that rejection means that we're extradited from the community, or we're
Hmm.
going to be alone, it's one of our deepest fears. And so we'll do anything to stay in rapport or try and stay in community, even at the cost of our own mental, physical, spiritual health,
Yep.
until we realize, hang on a second, I'm actually safe to be alone. We have to rewire that. We have to create
Yeah.
a new neural pathway, so that first of all, we have to find, where that belief is sitting in our subconscious, to think that, that we're not able to be alone. Do the work around that and go, well, hang on a second. If I've broken this belief system down, what is a new belief system that I want to create? And how can I
Right.
find proof in order to sustain this belief?
Hmm.
And so, for me, it was like I had this massive fear of being alone when I split up with the children's father 6 years ago. And I was single. I was living on my own. I only had the kids half the time because they were with their dad the other half. And there would be times where I'd be alone and I'd be so scared to go home from work because I'm like, oh my God, I've got to sit with myself. And now, like, and it took some time to get there, but now I'm like, oh my God, bring on my alone time. I love being with myself. And not only that, like, really just loving the journey to being on my own,
Mm-hmm.
and the relationship that I've built with myself has heightened my intuition so much that I can check in with my intuition. I can check in with my body if I'm having a physiological response. And I can say to myself, if I've been invited to an event or a networking thing or a party or something, I'll check in with myself and just sort of be like, do I actually want to go? Is this the
Yeah.
space that I want to be in? Are these the people I want to be around? Can I add value to their lives, and can they add value to my life? If the answer is no, then I don't go.
Yeah.
I'm so mindful of my own energy because of the deep love and respect and honor that I have for myself, that I wouldn't put myself in that situation because of how much I value my energy and myself. And I don't know about you, but you go to an event, whether it's a party or an event like a networking thing or something,
Yeah.
and you feel drained, you feel
Yes.
depleted. It's like you got to
Absolutely.
sage yourself and come back home and just take some time to refill your cup, or you're so exhausted afterwards because it's like the energy's left you. Whereas I will step into a room knowing that it's going to give me life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I've definitely spent a lot of my time trying to, like, in my people pleasing era, it was okay, I was invited to this thing, I have to go, otherwise they're going to think that I don't care, or that I don't like, they're just going to think all of these bad things. And I would put myself in those kinds of situations where I'm just kind of sitting in a corner at this event, not talking to anybody because I'm too socially awkward to be able to get up the courage to talk to anybody, because, oh God, that I'm going to show up as the weird nerdy one and everyone's going to be like, oh, how? And it's like, I would leave these gatherings or these events just feeling so disappointed and down and drained, because I was like, it shouldn't, like, why can't I do what all these other people are doing? Why can't I just have conversations with people? Why do I have, why am I so awkward that I'm like glued to the one person that I know the entire time? And they're like, you can tell they're just being like, why is she following me around? Like, just let me talk to other people. Why are you following me around? It's like, because you're the only one I know, and I don't have the confidence in myself to show up as myself and have conversations with anybody else here. And
Yeah.
now, having done all this work and been on this journey, it's been more easy for me to step back and be like, you know what? I'm not going to go to that thing. I'm not going to go to this thing. Like, I don't need to put myself in this kind of an awkward situation to appease whatever societal expectations there are of showing up to this networking event or this whatever the case may be. So it's been freeing. And unless it's like a required thing for work, like, I am very like discerning about what events that I go to, like, because I don't want to waste my energy or my time sitting in the corner not talking to anybody, because I don't feel safe in the
Yeah.
situation, or I don't feel as though my contribution as myself would be heard, seen, valued in that environment. So it's definitely a very nice change to be able to have that confidence and the comfort level to be able to say no to things now. That's been a huge.
Yes, and I feel like it's a muscle as well that needs to
Mhm.
be built up. Like, it's not
Yes.
just something that you can sort of click your fingers and it's done. For me, I used to embody like my inner actress. I'm like, okay, I'm an actor today, and I have to go and pretend that I like that there's a camera on me, and that I'm the most confident person. Until I stepped into that, like that was me coming through. It wasn't that I was trying to be somebody else. but it was almost like the permission slip that I needed to give myself to be able to step into that until it just became a lot more natural.
Yeah.
And it was a progressive thing over time. And there's still situations that I go into where I might feel nervous or I might feel a little less confident. And that's okay, because at the end of the day, I'm still a fucking human too. Like I'm allowed to
Absolutely.
have these feelings.
Yes. Feelings are allowed.
Yes, yes. So, Sarah, what is a piece of advice or a gold nugget of wisdom that you'd want to give to the listeners that are thinking, oh my gosh, they've just touched on everything that I'm feeling right now. I really want to step into being, my weird, nerdy self, or I want to step
Mhm.
into being, radically authentic in the world. What would you say to them?
Don't overthink it. Don't overthink it to the point where you're trying to put out this polished image of, oh, I am the weird, quirky one. But I'm still like cool and living up to the expectations of everyone around me. No, you don't have to put the laminate on it. You don't have to show up as perfection. Show up rough. Show up really, really awkwardly. Like, it's okay to be your weird, socially awkward self and go on your 10-minute rant about how much you love Doctor Who or Lord of the Rings or whatever the case may be. Whatever it is that you want to nerd out about, don't overthink it. Just let it come naturally, and it's going to feel weird and awkward and uncomfortable at first, but the more that you do it, the more naturally it comes, and you get to that point where you're like, okay, you're not even thinking of like, okay, I'm about to go to this event. I need to pull out the lamination machine and like make myself presentable and happy and perfect and professional for everybody to see. It's like, no, just show up as you. Don't overthink it. Just show up.
I love that. I love that. We will obviously link to the show notes to your website and how people
Yeah.
can contact you on your Instagram. Do you work with clients all around the world? Tell us how that works.
Yeah. I work one-on-one with whoever feels called to and wants to work with a really nerdy person to kind of help them come out of their shell and figure out who they are.
And one final question before we wrap up, Sarah.
Yeah.
To you, what is the meaning of life?
It's don't live in the shadows, like in a way that you're hiding. Like, not that shadows are bad. I like a good shadow every now and then, but don't live in the shadows because you're trying to not be seen, that you're afraid of being seen. The meaning of life is that you're able to enjoy what you enjoy and love what you love, who you love, without fear, without concern for your safety, of your love, of your place in this world, because no matter what, you are loved, you are wanted, and it is important to just know that you fit somewhere. And even if it doesn't seem like that right now, we all belong and we can create our own belonging.
I love that. I love that. Sarah, thank you so much for joining me on the Enlightened podcast. It's been an absolute pleasure to chat with you.
Thank you so much for having me on, Jen. I really appreciate it. This has been wonderful.
Thank you so much for joining me for this episode. I hope you love the Enlightened podcast, and the biggest compliment you can give me is subscribing to this podcast, sharing it, and leaving a rating and review. Feel free to follow me on Instagram. My handle is @JenHamiltonOfficial, and the podcast handle is enlightened_podcast. You can also find the video version on YouTube on my channel. Just search Enlightened and don't forget to hit subscribe. Have a beautiful day and enjoy living the enlightened journey of life.